Welcome to 5 Points Blues presentation of Back to the Basics. Everything you wanted to know about Cowboys football, but were too afraid to ask. Here are your hosts, Nikki Harrison and Christy Scales.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Back to the Basics. Everything you wanted to know about Cowboys football, but were too afraid to ask. Today, we have a full house and a fun show. What's going on, Christy?
It was such an honor yesterday to accompany these three history-making ladies to Washington, D.C. for the special event at the Smithsonian in which the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders donated artifacts, including the original design and uniform made by Paula Van Wagner, our guest. She's wearing her 72 jersey there. That was the year that Paula Van Wagner designed the original Dallas Cowboy cheerleader uniform, which since 2005, there have been very few modifications, very small tweaks, but Lisa Dobson has hand-sewn every stitch of the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader uniform since 2005. She was also recognized yesterday at the ceremony at the Smithsonian. And then, of course, we all know Janelle, our favorite DCC, our favorite Aussie. And Janelle and her, this is what was so great, Nikki, was Janelle's very first visit to Washington, D.C., and walks into the Museum of National History, right? The American History Museum, not as a guest, but as part of an event. So what did that feel like, Janelle?
Oh, I honestly, I had to keep on pinching myself. It was so exciting and so surreal to be a part of such a special history-making moment.
Yeah. Now, Paula, let's go back to 1972.
Okay.
And the previous year, the Dallas Cowboys have started playing games at their new stadium in Irving at Texas Stadium. And the Tex Schramm wants to change the look of the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader uniforms. What were you doing in 1972, and how did you get to be involved in the project?
Well, let's go back a couple of years before that and do about 1970. This will tie in, I promise you. In about 1970, my best friend Sue Golden and I gave each other a trip to the fortune teller. And the only thing the fortune teller knew about us is our names and might have known our ages, not our occupations, whether we had children, married, or anything. And I put all those notes that she gave me in a box in my closet. We'll stop that for a minute. 1972, my boss came and asked me if I wanted to design a uniform for the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. And it wasn't any big deal. It was just another assignment that happened all the time. And I said yes. So we went out to see Tex Schramm and Dee Brock.
Who was at the time, she was the original director of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Went out to see them, see what it was they wanted. And they said, these are not going to be regular cheerleaders. They're going to be beautiful dancing girls. So they need to be able to move around. And we wanted to have something with a Western theme to go in with the Cowboys. And they had to be done in good taste. So added all that together. I went back, designed the uniform, and 2 days later took it back to Tex Schramm and showed it to him. And I had it on a hanger and said, is this what you wanted? And he said, but I've got to see it on a body. So I went and put the uniform on. So I was the first person to wear it. And they've just made little changes since then.
Yeah.
But that's it. Oh, fortune teller.
Yes. What was on this thing that you kept from the fortune teller?
About 2 years after that, I found that box just by accident, cleaning out my closet, as we all do. And I opened it up, and I remember I was sitting on the floor of my closet going through things. Opened it and started reading, and she said, you will design a uniform that will be known all over the world.
Wow.
And now it's in the Smithsonian. But at the time, you were...
I was a fashion designer.
With Lester Melnick, which is in Dallas was a well-known clothing store.
Yes, but
Lester
I really didn't have anything to do with Lester. Lester was Tex Schramm's golfing partner, and Lester was a good friend of my boss, so it just kind of kept flowing downhill.
Wow.
But I really didn't have anything to do with Lester or his store.
Paula, could you quickly just talk about the inspiration behind the original uniform? I look back at some images of what cheerleaders wore in 1972, and it was, skirts just like a little bit above the knee, sweaters. What was your inspiration with the shorts? That was different.
Well, they told me they didn't want anything like a normal cheerleader would wear.
Okay.
And at the time, hot pants and go-go boots were the thing. So that was my inspiration right there. And then the bolero jacket and the stars are the Western element.
Yeah.
Now, there were originally two uniforms that you had. What you're seeing now on the screen are the two uniforms that were actually donated to the Smithsonian. So you have a version from the 1970s, and then you have a more modern one from 2011. And you can see
guess
some
which
of the...
one is which?
Yes. Actually, it's really hard to tell. The belt buckle is one of the few things. I see some things around the stars. Is that different?
The crystals were added.
The crystals were added.
And it's a fancy belt buckle now.
That's right.
And it looks a little bit like the sleeves are smaller. Am I in the newer?
The sleeves are smaller. Kelly, the uniform needs to show up on the field, but at the same time, it doesn't need to be too billowy or, too much going on for the dancers. The dancing now is really aggressive and athletic. And that blouse is not a stretch fabric. So you need to leave some room for the girls to move, but yet she didn't want that big billowy look. So I engineered the sleeve with a different cut that allows more room for them to move, and it allowed me to take a lot of the fabric out, and it satisfied Kelly and Judy, because they're having to consider how it looks on the field now that there's a much bigger venue, how it looks from way up high in the stands, and also how it looks on the screen. And then they have to consider how the dancer feels in it while they're dancing.
Sure.
And since they have to perform such, like I said, aggressive, strenuous dance, the less they have to deal with fabric-wise, and I know that sounds like I'm going down a slippery slope, but I'm talking about the sleeves, the better.
We want Janelle to jump in on this and talk.
You're the dancer, you can say.
The poms changed as well over the years. So and you always hear the alumni talking about how they were so heavy, and you have to have really strong arms because the poms are really heavy. When you dance for a 4-hour game, that weight definitely adds up. So, but our poms today are much lighter. So I think that definitely probably was taken into consideration with the sleeves as well. They're much smaller, lighter, and the shorts look a little smaller.
Yeah, and you mentioned the poms, and as we see, you can see Janelle on the far right here. These are the 4 group leaders from the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. So Lacey, Kashera, Jenna, and of course Janelle. And you can see that this is yesterday at the Smithsonian at the National Museum of American History. This is right after Charlotte Jones Anderson has signed the deed to those artifacts are now inside the museum. They are not on display yet.
That's so exciting.
So they're now officially donated. But I want to point out that Janelle was talking about the poms.
Yeah.
So you can see a set of poms from the 70s, early set of poms on the left, the big bushy ones really there. And on the right, in front of Janelle, you can see the modern one that she's talking about, which obviously is much more easy to use. You can also see, Paula mentioned the go-go boots. So you see the boots from the 70s on the left.
They're actually Kelly's boots too.
Those Kelly Finglass, the current director. And I believe that the shorts and vest of the outfit, one of the outfits is also from Kelly, the one on the left.
Oh my goodness,
there
so cool.
are also the boots, and then Paula, your design is right there on the front.
The sketch is there.
The sketch on the black and white.
Original sketch.
Wow.
Yes. There's a great look there. So can you describe for us? So I was talking earlier about there were originally 2 different designs, and there was an issue with fringe.
Yes. What you see on the left-hand side is what they wear today. Okay. And when I first presented it to them, I presented both of them. The one on the right is a bodysuit. Oh. And then you've got the belt and you've got long fringe. And you should be able to kind of change the ones around. But the fringe just got so ragged looking, even in the first year that they decided not to use that.
Gotcha.
So what was it like yesterday when you looked up, the ceremony's going on, and you see this is a copy of your original sketch, but oh my gosh, I just can't imagine. Can you put it into words for us, what it was like?
It's hard to, because I can remember different parts of it yesterday and being honored by each of the people that were up there. And it was just almost overwhelming, especially to see the curator of the whole museum talking about our designs and being in the Smithsonian. That was fantastic.
Yeah. And Lisa, what I mean, and I also want to mention that you both had family fly in from out of town, fly up from Dallas, come down from New York. I know that was special for you, but things that you created with your own hands are in the Smithsonian.
Yes, I don't know if my name will ever be actually attached anywhere in the museum, but I know that my stitches are there, and it pays off to do your best on everything you make, because you never know who may have it later on, and who may be able to turn it wrong side out and criticize your workmanship. It still hasn't sunk in. When so much happens in one day that it's so big in your life, it takes you weeks to piece it back together sometimes. And so but the feeling of being there, you had to keep reminding yourself this is really happening. It's still, I guess it's still.
Yeah, there's the video just after towards the end of the ceremony where Lisa is being recognized, and that's her handiwork right there. Lisa and Janelle, I'd like for you guys to talk about the relationship that you have in that. Let's talk about the fittings. And first, actually, let's go back even earlier than that. You're a cheerleader, you're in training camp, right, in the summer, and you don't get your uniform right away. You have to work for it, right?
Every single year you have to work for it, and that is one of the things that makes it so special. It's really, really unique, and the training camp process is grueling, but, it definitely, it's like a piece of gold that you get at the end of, a really, really Olympics, let's say. You've run a really, really long marathon, and you never thought you would win gold, but it really is the analogy like that. It's like you've won the lottery or something when you actually get to put it on, and the feeling that you get when you're in training camp. And I remember my first one when I tried it on, and you just get the fabric. You don't get the stars, you don't get the buckle, you don't have all the fancy accessories. You just have the fabric, and it's just to size you, and everybody's shorts are so different, and it's just you put it on, and it's like a dream come true. I will never forget the first time that I put on even just the uniform by itself without the stars, and that's really something that you earn when you make the final team. But I'll remember that day forever. And I still get tingles. I have goosebumps right now talking about it.
Well, and that day, for me, is one of the reasons every year I pull out those huge rolls of fabric and I start unrolling them, and I just start tracing the pattern pieces and cutting them out, because I have stacks, and it's a lot of work, and it gets long, and sometimes it's painful, but when I'm sewing, I think about how much that garment means to the woman who will wear it, and that she has been dreaming of wearing that for so many years. And it's not just her. Whoever took her to dance, whoever encouraged her when she was down, whoever helped her when she was injured, whoever misses her when she's gone a whole country, on the other side of the world. There's so many more people in this than just what someone might see when they see a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader, of course, beautiful young woman in a beautiful uniform. There's a human being there, and there's a lot of human beings involved. And I think about, it sounds silly, but it's one of the ways I meditate when I'm making these uniforms, because sewing in and of itself it's like driving down a long road at a dark night. You got your foot on a pedal. But and I do develop a relationship with the girls. Janelle in particular, she's been here for this is your 5th year, and their bodies sometimes change over time. And
no, no.
It depends, but I love it when they do communicate to me how the uniform may not be suiting their needs, or maybe feeling funny. Of course, when they need repairs, and some of the repairs are hilarious. This one happens to be prone to blowouts. She's got a really good leg extension, and that the stitches just are like, okay, I give up.
And sometimes when you kick high, the stars can get caught on the fringe, and it can kind of rip a bit of the bottom of the short. So you need to make sure it's well classed. You got to have those things repaired.
Oh, all of it, and it's fun, and it's kind of after a couple of years, all the shorts kind of have their own story, and I kind of see each girl's personality there, and the way the shorts are, and they definitely take on the form of their bodies after a while, and they're very particular about if they put on a short that's not their short.
Oh yeah,
they have brand new shorts. For instance, it takes them a while to get accustomed to it, and it's kind of in the back of their mind when they're getting ready to perform that this just something doesn't feel right, And so it's up to me.
Like a glove.
And that's one of the hardest things when I have a vet who has a pair of shorts that she just really loves, and then they play out, especially the girls that are in the show group. Those uniforms get worn so much. The challenge when they come to me and they're just like, Lisa, and their shorts are just wretched. That's no other word for it. And I'm just like, okay, I've got to make this new short, and I need to make it feel like the other one. But it's fun. It's also
a challenge
much fun
for us too.
Well,
yeah.
One thing that really surprised me, and this is going back a year and a half or so to the Cheerleader Association's 10th anniversary. I did not know, that would have been 43 years after I designed it. I had no idea what the uniforms meant to the girls. I just thought that's something, that they put on, like going to work. And it's not. The uniforms mean everything to them.
Well, it's so iconic. It's like you can look at it and know exactly who it stands for, what it stands for. I don't think there's another team that has that same symbol.
When you were in Australia, in Melbourne, and you have seen episodes of CMT, Dallas Cowboys cheerleader making the squad, and you're thinking about coming over and auditioning, what was your perception of what the uniform meant? And now that you're a part of it, what does it mean?
Well, when I was back home, I looked at it like almost like an unattainable dream, and it's something that such a small % of women get to wear that it really is setting the bar high to make this team, and you've got to set yourself some challenges. But I always looked at it like, oh, those girls are so lucky, and wow, everyone comes from such a different background. They all have a different story, and the uniform really is, at the end of the day, what unites them to become the team that they are and represent, America's brand. But I think for me, when I got here, I was really surprised by the detail that's in every star, and just how the blouse comes up, and then the rhinestones on the sleeves, and how the shorts are, they're double lined, and you've got everyone. You can't just pick a small out of the cupboard. You have to get the exact one that fits your leg, and that was a surprise to me too. The fitting process was a surprise, but
because they're made to fit you.
Yes.
Yeah, these are not recycled each off season, and so is retired, and so is coming in, and they get the one.
Well, it's surprising how much work is in it, that it ends up making everybody look uniform, and everybody looks like they are wearing the same thing, but really it's just accustomed to every person's figure. It's incredible.
Lisa, behind you there is a photo of Jennifer, and Janelle was mentioning some of the details. Can you maybe point out some things for us there and talk about some of the details and maybe the amount of time that it takes to do some of these things?
Well, she was pointing out the stars. The stars have 50 crystals hand set on all around them.
Wait a minute. There are 15 stars on a uniform, and they each have 50 crystals? Okay. Yeah. Oh, well, that sounds easy.
And we have a wonderful artist who does make the stars now. I did for a number of years, and I would finish all the uniforms, and I'd be like, okay, I've got stars. And it would take me a couple of weeks just of nothing but that all day long.
I can see those cufflinks there that above Jennifer's head there.
And there were no crystals on the original one.
None on the original. Okay.
Okay. Those are they're a button.
Okay.
It's a special button that I hate to divulge a lot of secrets.
It's just us girls.
It's a special button.
Okay.
That's all you need to know.
Okay.
Of course, the belt buckles are handcrafted by Brad Olam. He's a sculptor here in Dallas. He has some beautiful sculpture all over town. Google him. You'll see his other work is a lot larger than these belt buckles, but these belt buckles are really wonderful. The shorts, and on this particular girl, she has a long torso, so they look pretty low. In fact, I have modified the uniform in the past several years so that the shorts are not as low as they were when this picture was taken. But the belts are all different sizes, and the girls are sized for the belts. The short is identified basically by the size of the belt.
Okay.
And if for some reason we do have to swap out a short, that's the first thing we look at. If you're in a pinch and you have to swap out a short, which does happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to mention a couple of other things that were part of the donation yesterday among the artifacts. And earlier we saw the table with all of the different things, Paula's sketch, the pom-poms, the boots. There were Barbie dolls. Of course, they're Dallas Cowboy cheerleader Barbie dolls, a couple different versions. And so 3 of those were there. You can see that in the middle of the table, just in front of the 1977 iconic poster that came out. Tex Schramm says, if Farrah Fawcett can sell a bunch of posters wearing a red swimsuit, what can we do with our cheerleaders? And so it's one of the best-selling and most iconic pieces of American pop culture of all time. But the other thing is up just on the lower right part of the screen, and that's a teddy bear. And we have here on the table with us today for the podcast, this is a replica of Abby Bear. But Janelle, can you share with us what Abby Bear means, its significance, and why it was part of the donation to the Smithsonian?
Well, the Abby Bear is a really unique part of the tradition now. She stands for above and beyond. So Abby, above and beyond, it's the acronym. But I think it was 5 years ago, I think it was my rookie season, when Kelly brought it out at the game for the first time. And she introduced us to Abby and said that Abby represents above and beyond. So that was the start of the tradition, passing it from girl to girl for something they did that represents above and beyond for a teammate or for the organization or for them, any kind of achievement. But basically it was a community and character attribute. And so it's been a tradition ever since then that we pass it, whoever has it at one game will pass it to the girl at the next game through the season to recognize an above and beyond of excellent standard.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for everybody in Cowboys Nation to know how much the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders are doing in the off season. It's not just the training camp in the summer, the auditions in May, and then the 10 home games during the year, including preseason. Earlier today, Janelle was taking part in Character Playbook, an event with some youth, some of the girls over in the Arlington ISD. What was that like today?
That was wonderful, and it was a great opportunity again to be able to share Cowboys Nation with the world in a way that's really going to uplift the youth and, hopefully empower them to become leaders of their own generation. And what's amazing about that is that, the uniform is recognized on so many platforms that Tasha and myself were able to stand on a screen and, we have a little camera and all the schools were kind of seated to be able to see us back, and we answered questions for them and vice versa. And they, it's just an incredible platform that we can stand there and represent the star, and they know the uniform, and they have the Abby Bear, and they have Barbies, and they have all these different, aspirations that we actually get to be able to inspire them with. So it's really, really awesome.
Well, and what I need to add to what Janelle's saying is that any woman who earns this uniform is incredibly driven. She's intelligent. She is disciplined. She's a leader. I mean, you see a uniform, you see a pretty girl, you think, oh, a showgirl, what? No, these women are strong. They're physically strong, and they have a fortitude that a lot of people can't begin to imagine.
That's right.
And they need to be recognized for that. And that's one of the reasons why they are an inspiration.
Yeah. As a judge, this will be my 18th season coming up as a judge, and I can tell you that of the criteria, we have a judge's scoring sheet. And the first category is beauty, which is, are they pretty? And you have a wide range of judges because we have, I think, the second category is appearance, and it's how is that uniform going to look on that girl. And again, we all have, some have the long torso. I mean, they're all beautiful, and then you have your showmanship, your ability to learn. So you judging on dancing, but just as important are the panel interviews, because like Janelle is saying, when Janelle is talking to students, and when she's representing our sponsors, when she's in front of 95,000 fans on Sunday, or when she's on a USO tour greeting our service members and our military brass around the world, that's what it's all about. And so that's why yesterday at the Smithsonian, Paula and I were talking about this coming up here today. I really, one of the top 3 moments in 27 years with the Cowboys, including Super Bowls, was being at the Smithsonian yesterday.
That's amazing.
Wonderful.
It was great. And do we have time? Can everybody kind of get a last word in? I just want to. We kind of started off talking about what it meant to be there yesterday, and what going. I can't. I'm just so excited about it.
It's almost like you have no words.
Well, no. What is something about this organization? Oh, actually, what we should talk about is riding on the Cowboy jet. You can see that was a lot of fun.
I'm ruined forever.
Yeah, we'll never fly.
I only want to go that way.
We'll never fly commercially again. There's Paula. There you can see Kashara and Janelle, Kelly and Judy talking with Paula yesterday, and of course Charlotte Jones Anderson. But that was really a lot of fun. But out of everything that you're taking away from the historic moment yesterday, what is it that you're taking away from the whole event?
The honor of being there, I think, was number one. To have done something 46 years ago that culminated in a bunch of women wearing the same clothes for 46 years, and I'm in the Smithsonian. It was just so unexpected and such an honor.
Yeah.
When you set out to be a designer, you like to create, and you like to solve problems, and mostly you learn about your sewing for yourself, your doll, you're amusing yourself. But I didn't go to school and think one of these days I'm going to be sewing for the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. I didn't even think I was going to be sewing. I thought I was just going to be designing. But actually having the chance to craft something that's this recognized, and then to see it in the Smithsonian, and I'm still processing this. It'll be one of those things that I'll just be going about my business probably 15 years from now, and I'll just be like, I'm in the Smithsonian.
That's good.
Janelle, you got the last word, girl.
Just this whole experience, being a part of this team, sitting across from you legends. Honestly, this has been the most incredible journey. And I will say every time that I get goosebumps, and I have to pinch myself because
we all do.
Everything happens, and you're just like, you just can't believe it. You can't keep up, But I truly mean. I truly mean, on behalf of the whole squad, it really is an honor and such a privilege. And every single lady is so thankful and so grateful. And we know that, this uniform represents so much more than even just us. And we all just hope that we can do our best to, fill these boots and make everyone proud and live up to the reputation that you've created.
Thank you.
You do.
Well, Janelle, Paula, Lisa, Christy, I can only imagine how awesome that was yesterday, the experience that you ladies got to experience. Congratulations. I mean, that's a huge honor. And I thank you for coming on the show and joining us today.
Been fun.
Thank you.
Lots of good.
Hey, everybody, come back. Join us next week for everything you wanted to know about football, but we're too afraid to ask or too afraid to pronounce right here on 5 Points Blue.
This has been a production of 5 Points Blue, DallasCowboys.com, and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?